Hey everybody, wyattoneable Garage, and the reason I'm standing in front of this banner here is, yes, I'm a YouTube certified mechanic. And what does that mean? I paid 20 bucks for the sign. So I'm going to get into a full service on a 3010 Kubota tractor. I've not seen a video out there that shows how to do the full service, so I'm going to provide that to you. However, get a book and do this at your own risk. I'm an idiot. I've got a book and I'm doing what the book says, so I don't have any expertise in this, but I want to share what I'm doing, and if it helps you, great. If you don't need the video, move on to the next one, and good luck to you. But anyway, we got a lot to do, so let's get started. So pause if you need the information, but I'm going by the manual that came with the tractor, and I'm going after the 400-hour service, which is this column here, so you can see all the zeros that are marked there. Now this first 50-hour initial is for new tractors, and those that's why there's two circles there. But we're going after the 400. It continues on to the next page, so I'll slide the camera if you'll excuse the jitteriness. Again, pause it if you need it. But again, 400 hours, and that's where the transmission fluid and filter come in. And remember that the front axles, oops, where am I? 400. The front axles, same hydraulic fluid, but different reservoirs, so make sure you do that as well. And then I have broken it down, because you know me by now, into a simple list so I can continue from here, referring to the book, I should say, if I need help as far as fasteners and how to get to stuff, because this is a new tractor to me. What I've done before you all got here was to check the rear wheel torques at 160. The front wheels are 100 foot-pounds, and the tire pressures are no more than 35 in the back and 54 for these tires, but these tires are not the correct ones for this tractor, so don't quote me on that. That might be different depending on the tire for your tractor. So starting from the ground up, we got the book out of the way. We have checked for tire pressures, and I went around and checked the torque on the wheels, and in fact they all were pretty loose. A couple of them were real loose, as a matter of fact. So go at this as you deem necessary. I want to do what is a nasty job, and that's grease every zert fitting that's on here, and there are a few underneath. I'll show you those as well. So you have a zert fitting there, one at the top, basically wherever you think there's pivot points, okay, the front bucket, front loader, and of course the same on the other side. Now I'll get you underneath and show you some of the ones that are tricky. Alright, we're up underneath the tractor, which is probably pretty obvious. These are some of the steering components, and you want to hit this point here. There's one right here, and again on the back. Let me get the light over here. There's one on this side as well. Let's see, right there. And then right up in here, I'm going to have to move this around. You can see this at the very front of the pivot point for the power steering is a zert fitting. So I went after the air filter next, and you don't have to take it off to get to it. I took mine off to clean it, and to gain access to the radiator. That needs to be flushed, and you can access it better with this filter out. So you have two filter elements. You have the primary and the secondary. The secondary is not required to be changed as often, but I'm changing these both out because, like I said, new to me tractor. These just slip on. There's no other requirements other than just press fit, and that's that. So I have both filters installed, and I'll put the cap back on, and they're secured by just some clips. I'll show you that here next. So again, we're pretending this is in the tractor. It sits like this with the downspout down, of course, and there's a correlating cap with the contaminant release, or whatever you want to call it, as well. So there is a mark here that says top. It does index. You can kind of feel it lock, and then it's just a matter of putting your clamps back on, and that's done. So there's two screens in front of the radiator. One goes over the cooler here, the oil cooler. That's already been cleaned, and I may replace that depending on the cost. And then this screen for the radiator, and they just pull out. No fasteners or anything that I can see. Stuck on the pipe here. Okay, so I'll take that outside and blow that off. Yes, my brother has worked this tractor, so it's needed a good cleaning. Now, I don't do this every service on my own tractor. This is only being done because it's new to me, and I want to inspect as I go along. So that's that, and I'll get in here and clean all this up, and then we'll probably check the battery next. That's a good example of why I like getting into something that's new to me. Is this should be secured. I see some mounting brackets here that are missing bolts. So right now, because I can gain access to the radiator, I'm going to take the battery out because I want to check underneath for rust or anything. Get these terminals cleaned up. They look a little worse for wear. The battery, however, is 1121, so it's probably a good battery. It did start for me. I just trashed my garage. There's a lot more in there than I thought, and I used compressed air to back flush that radiator, and a lot came out. That's just underneath the battery tray. So this is a mess now. I blew right into my toolbox. It's going to be dusty in here now. I should have did that outside. So in the case of this battery, it does have caps to remove. Checked all the fluid, the acid in there. They're all topped off nicely. This is just on loose now. I got it on trickle charge. So when we put it back in the tractor, it'll be, we'll give it the best benefit of the doubt, and then we'll do some checks. The batteries are reinstalled. It's charged overnight. And yes, this is the second day. I had some other things to do, but anyway, it's all cleaned up, ready to go, and we'll test it next. So we have state of charge 98%, state of health 93%. It says good battery. I like that. Next simplest thing to check is the tension on the alternator belt. It just calls for moderate pressure down here in the midsection. 7 to 9 millimeters is your deflection, which is about 1/4 inch, and this is clearly more. Not if you can see that or not, actually. It's kind of hard to get in there, but problem with this one is bolts all the way out. The adjustment's all the way to the end, so I'm going to replace that alternator belt. Here's a page for adjusting the fan belt tension, clutch pedal free travel, and the brake pedal free travel. Pause that if you need it. Clutch pedal free play adjustment or check is 0.8 to 0.12 inch. So just as simple as I'm starting at 6.5 inches and about 5.5. So that's right towards the maximum. 1 inch, 1.2 is the max. So we're okay for now. I'll show you where you adjust it if you need to. If you need to adjust your travel on your clutch, take this pin out, break this jam nut loose, and then you can turn this clevis in or out as needed so that you can get your adjustment. Brake pedal free play adjustment is 20 or 15 to 20 millimeter, 0.6 to 0.8. How can we both see this? Let's see, 9 or about 1/8 there to 8. So that's right at 1 inch. 0.8 of an inch is the maximum. The adjustment's right down here. It's kind of dark. To gain access to the engine oil filter and the fuel filter, you'll need to take this, I think they call it a belly pan. It's 2 12 millimeter in front and 2 in the back there. Oil filter, I'm not going to give you the part numbers because they're not Kubota OEM. This is some stuff I bought 4 months ago when I bought the tractor. I haven't had the tractor here to do anything with. So anyway, once it touches, book says 1/4 return, hand tight, and that's all there is to it. To ease access while adding oil there, you'll need to take off this top part, and that is done by 12 millimeter bolts up underneath here. You see just there on both sides, and 2 here in the back. Kubota has 2 drain plugs in the oil pan because you have 2 separate halves there. Those are 17 millimeter. And I hope you have a funnel with a long reach because it's a little bit tricky to get into. But that calls for 5.8 quarts, 10:30. I'll put it in 5 and then get the tractor back on the ground and check the level. Next thing is the fuel filter, and because it's so dirty up there, I'm going to use some brake clean and then compressed air. So before you do this, shut off this valve here so you don't have diesel draining into your filter there. And I just use the biggest adjustable end wrench I have to break that loose. It wasn't very tight, thank goodness, because I don't really have the right wrench for that. But once you break that retaining ring off, it just unscrews. And I got a drain pan underneath that's not centered. Now it's centered. There should be a filter, an O-ring, and a spring at the bottom of the filter element to hold pressure upward. So hopefully all that's in there. Okay, I see the spring. There's the filter. And then there's the O-ring, so make sure you don't double stack it. And I'll get in here and clean all that up. So the spring, there's a new spring at the bottom, so you're going to feel some resistance there. New O-ring, get everything centered. These cables back here are really making that difficult, but I finally got it. Every 600 hours, adjust your pivot. And that's done with a 17 millimeter for the jam nut and 14 millimeter to turn the adjusting screw. It's right in the center of your screen there. The book says to turn in the adjusting screw until you feel resistance and then back off 1/6 of a turn. I'm going to drain the axle next. There's 2 drain plugs, one on this tire, one on the other one, of course, and let that drain for a bit. This is the fuel port for the axle, and the way you know it's full is you take this nut off on this side, and when the oil starts coming out of that, then you know you're full. And the front axle capacity is 5.8 quarts. And here's the book for you. You can pause that if you need to, but it does take either 80-90 gear weight oil or the Super UTD hydraulic fluid, and that's what I have, so I'll use that. Having a funnel like this sure helps. Like I said, 5.8 quarts is the capacity. I got the oil pan on the other side. I'm pouring it in on this side and watching the other side. When it starts to pour out, then we know we're full. A little dark, dripping out the other side now, so we're full. This is also 14 millimeter. The drain, or the fill plug on the other side was a 27. To drain the transmission, drain plug here, that's a 24 millimeter. And then you have 2 places back here on the axles. Right there in the center of the screen. And the same thing on this gearbox type axle. Just right there. If your Kubota 3010 has a center PTO, there's a drain plug there as well. This is the location of the hydraulic filter on the right hand side, and it just spins off like a regular filter. You may have to get a wrench on it, but then same tightening procedures. Just once it hits the once you feel some resistance, then it's just another quarter to half turn. There's the setup. So you have to wire, or I have to wire this funnel up because it takes 2 hands to pour the hydraulic fluid in, because it's almost 11 gallons. So it comes in different size containers. I have 2.5 gallon size, so you gotta definitely hold them with 2 hands. This was one area I wish Kubota could have done a little differently, because these things are heavy. Okay, I think I got everything done. Next step is to run the tractor, check for leaks, and shut it down after 5 minutes and make sure your fluid levels are all good. Engine oil, of course, may go down a little, and hydraulic fluid certainly will go down because you're going to start filling up all those cavities that you've just drained. So we'll do that next. And since it's new to me, I wanted to detail it and get everything clean, and it's a good way to inspect it too. So the service is done. I know it looks funny without wheels, but the front tires are incorrect size, and this being a four-wheel drive, I don't want to take a chance of tearing up the differential case. So that's it, guys. It's all done. Hope this helped you. I know it's one of my longer videos, but there's a lot to do on this 1,200-hour service. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging in there with me. I'll see you in the next video.